What's going on, everybody? It's Super Robot Ed, and this is going to be just another visual aid discussion about the new drag strip, as well as the fact that we're going to be getting a new Menasor. And I want to clean up some issues, and I want to explain basically what we got in G1, whether you want to call it just Combiner Teams or Scramble City. And I want to clear that up because there's so much speculation about what the new Menasor is going to be and this and that. And well, I want to talk about that. We're going to use these toys and we're going to tell you why you definitely want to get out of Combiner Wars and Unite Warriors. So this by far, Menasor was the worst combiner made in the Combiner Wars Unite Warriors line. So let's first talk about Combiner Wars. Combiner Wars, was a breath of fresh air. We finally got true combiners that wasn't, some weird mismatch from Energon. It wasn't something else. It wasn't, weird, stuff. It was just what we knew, but in the new visual and remolded aid that we got. However, a lot of people complain because over time we got repaints, which of course these two are pretty much the same mold, and repaints and repaints and repaints. But you gotta understand that in the original G1, all of the combiners, with the exception of Devastator and a few others, all the ones that are considered Scramble City, pretty much were the same thing. You got one guy that's the body, that comes the body and the waist, and you had, four little guys. And the four little guys connect to the big guy, and then you have your robot. They all basically made a sort of H configuration. You had the ability to become a base, and then you just joint kata everything in there. In fact, the molds for especially the limbs were basically the same. It's just they were remolded to be jets or cars or other vehicles. But they basically were just the same. Stunticons, basically, two of them transform exactly the same way, with the exception of maybe Dragstrip and I think I forgot Dead End. Pretty much they transformed the same way. So I mean, there wasn't really much of a difference. They just had different molding, and you could reuse the parts on any of the ones you want. And if you didn't have a complete set, you could use those parts. So they weren't Combiner Wars in itself. The original G1 combiners weren't very different from what they did in Combiner Wars. And a lot of people complain because, it sounds like Motormaster's going to be a commander. And, some people are saying he's going to be Titan size. No, he's not going to be Titan size. We've already seen Dragstrip, and Dragstrip is pretty much the same size as any of your deluxe from the War for Cybertron line. He's the same size in car mode. Everything is the same. So what it is that this guy right here, the Motormaster, he is going to have a trailer, and he's probably going to be commander class because the trailer is probably going to do a few things. They're probably going to go back to the old style of where he becomes like a base, because he did become like a little launching ramp. But this time they're going to follow what they started with Fans Project. And they're going to do where the trailer becomes the body, and then you just attach the limbs to it. So he's not going to be Titan class. I think when you get really down to it, he's going to be the same size as your combiners. Your Combiner Wars. It's just going to be a new way of doing it. And although for some it doesn't make sense, I think it does, because they did that. They kind of showed that off with Predicant. Now, before we get to that, we could talk about Devastator, but Devastator is a help me combiner. Like literally, if you do not have I'm talking G1, if you don't have certain parts, they won't connect. It's always been a help me combiner. Now in Combiner Wars, they did that a little better, where everything connects, but it's still, you can't put one guy on one side and one guy on the other. They have to go in a specific order. Now, probably what's going to happen here is going to be the same thing. We're going to have everybody in the correct order, and they're going to go in that fashion. So, just keep that in mind. This is what is going to happen. I'm predicting this. I'm telling you this. Trust me. He's not going to be a Titan class. It didn't make sense. Devastator as a Titan class never made sense. It won't make sense. And I'm willing to bet you if they revisit this guy, they're going to revisit the other ones. But, as we know currently, they're still producing combiners because the Superion mold is the best for doing anything with combiners. So we're just going to show off some quick comparisons, and then we're going to go to robot mode, and then we're going to go to combined mode and explain why this thing is just atrocity. So let's step into it. So we're going to go over all the members and everything like that, and get into it and everything like that. So of course we got breakdown, and yeah, he's missing some colors and things. I'm not going to get into all that. And of course, we got Dead End, but he's missing the gold stripe that the original G1 toy had. I don't know why Japan went for that. And of course, there's Drag Strip. And of course, the last one is going to be Wild Rider, which of course in the American version, we got, what was that guy's name? Offshoot or Off-Road or something, who was supposed to be kind of like, the other member, which we never had, which that was just to sell toys. Because later on, if you try to get the US version of this, he almost paid the cost to get this. Because when this first came out, this was $99. And I think he was going for like $60, $70 for the American version. That's just so stupid. Now, in comparison to a, War for Cybertron trilogy car, here is Runabout. And as you can see here, they're pretty much the same size, but when I say that this has a little bit more density, it's probably going to weigh the same. It has a little bit more density. The plastic is, different. This feels much lighter, even though this is not too much lighter, but they're slightly bigger, but not so much that they couldn't fit in the War for Cybertron line. I mean, they'll fit just fine. And basically that's it. I mean, there's not much to compare. So what we're going to do next is we're just going to show off the robot mode just real quick. And then we're going to show off the combined mode with the parts that I have, because like I said, I threw away my other parts. We'll be doing that in 2 and 2. No on-screen transformations, by the way. It's not needed. All right, we're back. My YouTube magic. And we're just going to go over some quick measurements and just kind of get an overview of the characters and, so you get an idea of what we had back in 2015, 2016. First things first, let's look at Wild Rider, because he was one of the hardest ones to get. He was known as Breakneck in America. Him and Slingshot were released as standalone. And I don't know why they did that. Like, I still kind of, I'm on the fence with why they did that. Like, and I'm turning up the brightness just a little bit so we can get a good look at him, And I never really understood that, why they did that. But let's go over articulation. He has 360, arm goes out to here. He's got the elbow joint. The head kind of look up and down, but it can do a 360, but it kind of gets stuck on there, but it does do a 360. So, and the leg goes out to here. Leg goes back to here. They can do the Van Damme. This pretty much standard for all of them. So I'm not going to go over each one's articulation. This be a bit all day video. And they don't have feet swivel. They have waist. They can turn to waist. They have to for a transformation. And we want to just do a quick height comparison for them. And pretty much they are about, I think, right a little bit above 5 inches. And these are deluxe size. And just give you an idea of what they look next to a standard deluxe. We're going to get the my man here Run Amok, and they're pretty much the same size. Again, like I said, this is a different type of plastic. This is a different type of plastic. This, to me, for all intents and purposes, is better. I think the details are sharper. I think the transformations are better. But, they're a little more complicated, but, there's better engineering. And that's pretty much what is needed. We're in a new The engineering on these toys were not great, but you get the point. And if you want to see the rest of the team, so you can get an idea, here's his breakdown, and he's same colors. Here's dead end. Of course, he's missing that yellow stripe. He's got the yellow stripe on the arms. But I will say Combiner Wars did a good job with the paint details. I will say that. And in some instances, but the one that kind of got hurt was Dragstrip. I think they were trying to simulate that he had like the extra wheel there. That's why they painted him black. But he has the only one that has like pull down legs, and the Combiner Wars version to me is better than this one. And I know some people are going to say, why? This one I always feel like it's going to fall apart. It's very weirdly loose here for some reason, but just to get an idea what they look like. I mean, they're okay. And then we're going to talk about Motormaster here real quick. And Motormaster, well, he's painted a lot better than his original, one that was in Combiner Wars. I think Combiner Wars, they kind of now just turning up the brightness just a tad so you can see what I mean. That's about as bright as I can go, but you can see his details there. They're very nice. I'm gonna bring it up close. You see the head. I mean, the paint job, there's a lot of different colors here. It's like a dark bronze and gray and silver that really do make up the look. Or he does, by them painting it the way it is, he looks very G1. Also, there was an issue with the hip joints in the American version for both Optimus Prime, for Combiner Wars, and Motormaster. You had to take this part from the back. There were gears that you had to realign, put it back together, and he gets the correct A stance because his legs can't close in any further. They're not supposed to, but the original Combiner Wars versions, they had that, and it was because it was built incorrectly. If you see the feet, they're already at the A stance, and the articulation's the same. I don't want to turn the waist too much because it's possible that you could, damage this toy. And that's something. I'm not damaging a toy just for the sake of some people. No offense. I know some of you, but I don't know all of you. You're not going to help me buy any toys, and I'm not going to ask for any money. So let's keep it a buck. Let's do some measurements here. He is a little over 7 inches, and yes, he is Voyager size. He is larger than Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime is about 7 on the nose. He's 7 and some more, so he's already out of scale. So I'm assuming when they make the cab that they're probably going to have him, the normal Voyager size. Because I'm going to always use, even though Legacy is the new line, War for Cybertron is standard, and they're pretty much in line with the same standard as the War for Cybertron. And I don't have Legacy toys yet, so. And if you could compare them, I had Inferno I left behind because I was thinking about getting Artfire. I was kind of looking at him and I was like, maybe I'll get Artfire. And you can see Artfire is about 6 and about 6 and a half. About 6 and a half. So Prime sits right about 7 inches. So yeah, you can see he's Voyager size. He's pretty big Voyager size. So that pretty much wraps up the team. And yes, they do come with these like sword weapons, and they don't really, like I said, I don't really remember the weapons that the G1 toy came with because I never had the G1 combiner in full. I've always had like one, and then I had like Motormaster because I borrowed it from a friend and I had to give it back. But I mean, pretty much that's what we're dealing with right now. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to go straight into combine mode, and then we're going to talk about why this needs to be replaced. And that's going to happen in 2 and 2. And we're back. And so we have everything combined with some of the Perfect Effect parts. And actually, they're knockoff parts. I got them for very cheap because I just wasn't going to pay full price to make him. It just wasn't worth it. So with the Help Me parts, this part right here is a help me part, the waist, and of course the sword, because they take this part and it helps to make the sword stick on the back. And of course, you now can do an A stance, but the problem is the articulation is not there. He's just in a one stance. It's all his leg's gonna do. It's not gonna go back. Somebody argued about articulation. Bruh, there's no articulation with this damn thing. Just keep it $1.50. This just to give him a different stance. And of course, there is the head that's new, because the other head looked like crap. Okay. And that's about the size of it, man. I mean, it's just, it was one of the crappiest combiners. And what sucks about the combiner itself overall is, even without the help me parts, he has that very weird looking stance. It's just not a very good looking stance. And because of that, he just looks terrible. Like it's horrible. I mean, the whole thing about the combined mode is just, hey, we got Menasor, but it seems like when they designed this, that middle torso was not really designed to be a combiner. Like that should have went back to the drawing board. There should have been some more things done with the legs or something, but there's no amount of help that's going to make this combiner great. I'll give you a perfect example as why I say that. And it's probably not going to fit in my camera, but I'm going to show you the standard for combiners. And this is why it's important that we do this, is Predaking. Predaking is the standard for combiners. And this is what we're going to be getting. See, like Menasor doesn't even, Predaking doesn't even fall. He is, because they have these asymmetrical parts that form the robot, that you get an achieved look. It's sturdy. It's this thing is a mess, man. And I want people to see this on video. This is not a blooper. This is what we got with this. It's crap. I don't know why people will stand behind Combiner Warriors, Unite Warriors, Menasor. It is the worst. I don't care how much upgrade you do to it. It's terrible. It's just terrible. It's the worst. Like, compared to Predaking, the thing with Predaking is that all of his parts form cohesively, and it's sturdy. You could pick him up, set him down, and he will stand correctly. Can you get that with that guy? With this guy? No. And that's with the help me parts. Why should I invest $60 to $70 into a toy when $60 to $70 could buy me a whole nother regular toy? I'm just buying accessories, not even accessories. I'm buying stuff to make this look better when Hasbro should have done it. Then Hasbro's gonna give you the thing to make it look better, but y'all gonna complain about it. This just don't make no sense, man. Like, some of y'all are just stuck on idiocy, and you're gonna see when it does come out why you want to get it. So this ain't no real review. This is just to talk about why Combiner Wars Menasor needs to go. That's it. And that's where we're gonna go with it right here. I don't play with this thing. It just sits on the shelf, and I will never touch it. This is the first and last time I'll touch it again. I'll touch this all day. That, no, you just leave it alone. So yeah, so there's no final thoughts. It's just, if you still want to deal with this when we're getting better, knock yourself out, man. If you feel like, I spent all the money I could spend, and you spent all this extra money on the upgrades, because now all that money you spent is useless, because if you you could sell it, but why buy this when you can get something that looks better? It's mind-boggling what people say, but sometimes you got to show people the truth, that this was trash. And this was pretty good. I liked it. I had to review him one day, but not today. All right, y'all. This is all I got. And like I said, the new version is going to be better. It's going to work. It's going to look better. It's going to be in line with your War for Cybertron as well as your new Legacy toys. Put this away, okay? If it goes up to be worth more money, hell, I'll sell you mine. But it ain't worth it keeping it. So this is Super Robot Ed making the case for the new the new combiners that we're going to get in Legacy. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.